So these concerns, everybody loves conspiracies these days. I'm not so sure that these investigations aren't done in a way that winds up intentionally or unintentionally helping the former president, to be honest, because every time there's a swing, it seems to expose the fact that they go after him with what seems to be at or below a level of anything that would be impressive to people reviewing the documents. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I'm obviously not a fan of Donald Trump. I wrote a book about the guy called Insane Clown President. But, my feeling is if you're going to take the very extreme step of indicting somebody who's the likely nominee of the opposition party, the charge has to meet two tests. It has to be extremely serious and it has to be an airtight case. And I think both of these cases fail on both of those points.
Yeah, a buddy of mine who's a very smart guy and a lawyer, but, just a kind of consumer of all things relevant like yourself. He was like, hey, I don't care that it's during the election. The fact that you're running shouldn't shield you. Maybe he's running because he knows it's his best defense on these things. Maybe, but I think that to the majority, the optics are terrible. If you're swinging at somebody during an election and you don't have what we deem the goods. Now, what does that look like in this case? Do you think it comes down to, well, what are the documents he was keeping?
Well, again, I mean, I think if you are a person who grew up in a third world country, you would recognize this kind of thing as something that happens in a not entirely free society. So the optics of this are terrible. I mean, there's no way around it.
It's a sad day when even Chris Cuomo is coming out and saying this is bullshit. And it ends with a comparison to growing up in a third world country.
I'm sick and tired of this douchebag, Matt Taibbi. I just want to get this off my chest. Every time he speaks, he has to denounce Trump to prove to his former people that he's anti-Trump. Just tell us the story, bro. You don't have to denounce Trump every single time you go on air. We know you're not a supporter. They're not going to take you back. The guy is so naive and so milquetoast. I'm just over this guy. I mean, obviously, Cuomo's a douche. Nobody cares about Cuomo. And these are two guys talking about something that is so egregious, so over the top, as if maybe it might be off-putting. Maybe there might be something wrong with this. Maybe it resembles the third world. I mean, these two guys should go to bed together and come up with their own news channel. Matt Taibbi, the naive soft talker, and Chris Cuomo, one of the stupidest men on YouTube.
Now, remember, we did cover Cuomo and Baldwin, and we were having a douche off on that one.
Oh, right. That's right. The battle of the network douches. I remember that. But I'm so over this fuck. Can I say it fucking or no? I can't.
Well, no, it's a little early, but thanks.
Oh, it's early in the show. But I told him I was going to speak foul language today on Twitter. But I am so over these people on the middle left, whatever that world, that planet they live in. The Max Blumenthal's, the Jimmy Dores. All of a sudden, they in the middle of something that sounds intelligent, they begin to attack Israel, or they begin to attack Trump, and you just go, what is wrong with these people? You know what I mean? Who cares if you support or don't support Trump? This is a third world activity, as Taibbi stumbled onto in that situation there that you pointed out.
Yeah. It took him a minute to get there. It was funny watching the chat. Is this the right channel? What's going on? And it's like, I do look beyond, and I do find it interesting. But
I'm going on Jose Vega's channel. You talk about the wrong channel. I'm going to be a guest with Jose Vega next week. Yeah. And I think his channel's called Communist We Love or something. I'm not really sure. I'm going into the belly of the beast.
Well, your friend Oliver Stone was there.
Oliver was there, two communists talking about nuclear power or whatever they were talking about. But I'm coming in from the other side. He's in the Bronx. I'm in L.A. We're going to meet next week. And I like the guy a lot. I'm kidding.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. He really is. And, it is what it is. But, I mean, at least we are inviting each other onto each other's channels. And we have opposite points of view about a lot of issues. And we're still fine. That's the point I'm trying to make. We're still okay. It's these never tears who have Trump derangement syndrome are the major problem. Right, Eric?
Well, yeah, like the Mitt Romneys of the world.
Right. On both sides of the aisle. They both have this TDS. And that's really the problem. And it's been pointed out by Blumenthal. It's been pointed out by Aaron Mate. And I like both these guys. And obviously Jimmy Dore. It's been pointed out about Trump derangement syndrome. But now it's been weaponized to the level of an international embarrassment where the sitting president of the United States is swirling in criminal activity accusations and on the brink of being indicted. And the other guy, who's had 75 impeachments against him, 9,000 investigations, nothing has ever stuck with this cat. And now he's facing 20 years to life on 37 felony counts. It's a little much while trying to run for re-election. So Cuomo, who's talking to the smartest guy he knows, says, yeah, maybe Trump's doing it on purpose. He indicted himself, this schmuck.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's a scheme on the part of Trump of 12-level chess that he's going to indict himself and over this records thing where, you know, these records that are floating around with every president.
Oh, yeah. You mean like I'm calling them the Biden garage sale of
the
records.
The Biden eBay documents that you could buy on eBay from Biden. His son's probably selling them for crack pipes and trying to turn that eBay money into something. I think he was selling something, wasn't he?
Access for sure.
He was selling. There was something else. I thought he was physically selling something. I'd have to look it up. I thought he was trying to sell something on eBay.
Yeah, I don't know, but you know what? Good news. You might have bombed us with some language, but we may be able to get past it because we have a sponsor.
What?
We have a sponsor.
Who would come on and sponsor the dribble that we're putting out every week? I don't even know why anybody watches the two of us, but apparently there's people who will find this to be mildly amusing every week.
They're sponsoring me. No.
Okay. Good point, Hunley. Well, you can tell us a little bit about it then.
All right. Well, guess what? I have an ad. I'm going to drop it, and it is Aura. It's actually a decent product. They gave me a trial. I've looked at it, and here it is. Ever searched your name online and found your personal details exposed on public sites? That's the work of data brokers who profit by selling your info to robocallers and spammers. Enter our sponsor today, Aura. Aura identifies and confronts these brokers, submitting opt-out requests for you. By law, they must comply, but they often complicate the process. Aura simplifies this for you. With services like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, and identity theft insurance, Aura's got you covered. I used Aura, and it found my info on 25 data brokers. It alerted me to 50 plus sites that had compromised my information, and it also monitored my bank for large transactions. I was a real surprise when I got alerts when I was transferring money around. Real lifesaver. This is an added layer of security that I can't do on my own. For peace of mind, try Aura for 2 weeks free at aura.com/unstructured and boost your online safety. I put Mark to sleep, so it's a fantastic commercial.
All right. My sponsor is Gold Bond Cream. This is the best hand cream that I could ever recommend for anyone. For people who have dry hands, go with Gold Bond Cream. I'm not even kidding, folks. One of the most amazing hand creams ever devised. I think it's about $3 or $4 for this small one, but they're not paying us. This is just a personal thing.
Stealing, I don't know. You get that hand screen, the emergency stuff when it gets really, really thawed. I don't like, it's Neutrogena or something. I don't remember.
No, once again, I can only recommend Gold Bond hand cream, the cocaine of hand cream.
The cocaine of hand cream. Okay.
Oh, and also Ziggy's You Can't Make This Up glass that I'm using today from the Ziggy line of glassware that Eric has listed down below with various slogans and logos from the show.
Yep. And on that note, there's going to be a new one coming out. I think the Come On Bobby.
Really? Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
You
know what? We'll show it to RFK Jr. We'll see if he likes it. Send him a cup.
Maybe I should. I'm thinking about doing a limited run of Come On Bobby t-shirts.
Wow. That's interesting. Well, speaking about personal interest stories, I just want to tell you 2 stories that before I forget. You ever I always fall for this trap. I ordered a bookcase on Amazon, one of those big bookcases, and every time I get it, I can never put it together. It weighs 500 pounds, and it's always coming from someplace to the east, some off-nation communist country that makes this with probably slave labor, but you don't know that when you buy it on Amazon. I get this thing, And I'm trying to put it together last night, and to no avail. This is not the first time this has happened to me. I don't know if this happened to other people, where you get this furniture where you have to put it together, and it seems in the directions it's perfectly easy. But then when you're in the 4th hour and you're down in your underwear, rolling around on the carpet trying to put this together, and you finally give up and send the thing back. I just want to say this. When it's a Chinese company, they do one thing that I've noticed now over the past year. When you try to send something back, which normally you just get the, you get the label and you send it back. They try to negotiate with you over a product because they don't want to pay the shipping back to China. And I don't want this thing. I couldn't put it together. Whatever happens, happens. Same thing with tables. I'm never lucky with these things. And they go, will you accept X amount of money? I go, no. Will you do this? No. Will you do that? And it's so hysterical because it's always indicative that this is their style to avoid $10 million in shipping costs. Anyway, I just wanted to get that off my chest.
No.
If anybody's happened to anybody, please let me know in the chat.
I know I've had that ever try to break a contract with an alarm company or other one. Oh my God. Sirius Satellite. Try to break it with a satellite provider. How about we'll give you 6 months for free, 6 months for $2.
I see.
And then they just chase you and chase you and chase you and chase you.
Right.
And I think it takes like an hour to finally say no. See, that would be good use of an AI voice. You just have the AI call in and say no.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that idea.
Now, you wanted me to remind you of this. Apparently, Roger Craig died recently.
Oh, yeah. Roger Craig, he was a pitching coach for a bunch of teams, but he was also a player. He pitched for the Dodgers, but I think he was pitching coach for the Giants and the Mets, and he might have been interim manager for the Mets or something. He was a pitcher who had a lifetime losing record, if I recall, but had an ERA in the mid-3s, which was really commendable. Anyway, when I was going to, when I was a participant in the Bedford Bay Little League, which was across the street from my house on Knapp Street, that was the Little League team, had multiple levels, but the level we were on, we used to play the Gil Hodges Little League and the championship. That was a separate Little League, the one down by the Bell Parkway. But anyway, so we were in Bedford Bay Little League, and there's 2 guys show up to give us tips, 2 Mets. And one was Roger Craig, and the other one was Tracy Stallard, 2 pitchers for the Mets. And this is when the Mets were new, and they really sucked, Eric, right? So this is 2 guys coming out of the generosity of their hearts to come help little kids. I don't know, help these kids who are 10 years old with some tips from the pros, right? So I had a friend named Peter Leitner. He was on the team. Peter Leitner's specialty was to go down to Flatbush Avenue with a hacksaw and saw off the heads of parking meters and take them back to his apartment in his bedroom, smash them open with a sledgehammer. And in broad daylight, this 11-year-old kid one day got about 20 parking meters, just sawing them off with a hacksaw, right? Takes them back, puts them in a sack, takes them back to his rooms. What's that?
It would take a while to do it, too.
Oh, no, right. That's all he did. He got like 20 in one day, just did it all day. Smashed them open, took us to Sid's Luncheonette on Plum First Street, where he bought us all lime Rickies and vanilla sodas, but that's a story for another day. But getting back to Roger Craig and Tracy Stallard, Peter Leitner, who was on the team, said while these guys were giving us tips on baseball, he interrupts them and says, "Why should we listen to you? You lost 20 games last year, and you're going to lose 20 games this year." Now, both of those were true. One was Roger Craig. The other one was Tracy Stallard, 1964. They, without saying a word, they pivot, turn, and get back in their cars, and one car and drove away. And that was the end of my encounter with the legendary Roger Craig. Tracy Stallard would go on to have not as good a career. But indeed, I think it was Craig that lost 20 and Stallard was going to lose 20, which he did. This was in the middle of the season, maybe in July. So he was on his way to lose 20 games, which is a rare feat for a major league pitcher. Of the 2 of them they sent to us, they both lost 40 games in 2 years. So Peter, who had the biggest mouth I've ever seen in my life, was correct in what he was saying. And Peter Leitner was the guy who, at the age of 10, cracked the first joke I ever heard. We went to Sid's Luncheonette, and we would steal tips off the counter and read the comic books and just make chaos, about 5 or 6 of us. And the guy from Sid, who looked like Larry from the Three Stooges, came over and he was yelling at us. He hated us. He kicked us out of the luncheonette all the time. And he said, "What are you getting? What are you kids getting? You getting anything? What are you getting? Hey, if you're going to get something, just get it and get out. What are you getting? What are you getting?" And Peter, without looking up from a DC comic book, says, "Will you shut up, Sid? I'm getting a headache." And we laughed for months. This was the greatest line of an 11-year-old kid to an adult in the history of comedy. And I remember it to this day, from Peter Leitner to Sid of Sid's Luncheonette on Plum First Street in Brooklyn. And now back to the show.
Hold on, that line's even better than how you like the new math.
Yes. You know why? Because it was a kid to an adult with a wisecrack that made sense, resonant. It made language sense. It was just perfect. The timing was perfect. I was so in awe of Peter Leitner. Peter Leitner ended up going to Rikers Island on some other crimes later.
Of course he did.
As an adult. But, well, he started fires in his own room just to have the fire department come over, and he'd stand outside proudly and he'd go, "I started that. I started that."
Yeah. It sounds like he had the makings of a young psychopath.
He was.
All around.
He was.
He was a fun, friendly neighborhood sociopath, right?
Yes, but when you're in third grade, you don't know that. You just think he's another kid in the class. Not unlike Gary Grossman, who ended up running the bumper cars at Coney Island and would let us ride for free on there for hours and hours and hours on the bumper cars, which, if you're a kid, is unbelievable. You know, to have someone who's actually running them to let you on all day. Just one of the greatest days of my life.
Well, I just saw a tip coming in on locals, by the way. And Ziggy said that the Come On Bobby glass is up on the site already.
Oh, marvelous. Come on, Bobby.
So down in the description.
Come on, Bobby, get that glass.
In the description, look for glasses, and it'll be by Ziggy Shrugged.
Okay, so let's get on the show, because she's right, and I really appreciate what she's doing. But I want to get on to this 28th Amendment thing that our infamous governor here, Newsom, has now spread across the country as part of his presidential talking points. I don't know if you've heard about this, Eric.
No.
Okay, well, this is something. I am the only one I could ever remember bringing this up, and I argued with my brother, who is like a Bernie bro kind of guy, socialist type, phony socialist, lives in Colorado. But I used to argue because he would talk about the Second Amendment and guns. And I would taunt him. This is for 25 years. And I would say, "Dude, 28th Amendment, create your own, gun laws, get rid of the Second Amendment." And he would say, "It's too difficult." And I'd say, "Then shut the fuck up. Stop trying to nitpick about gun stocks and automatic weapons and everything else. Just go for it. Line up your people, take a vote, and repeal the Second Amendment," which is doable mathematically, right?
Well, prohibition.
Right. I would bring up prohibition, and we'd have this argument every year. It was more of an intellectual argument. It wasn't really emotional. It's just a semantical argument. And I'd say, go do it by the book. I mean, they repealed alcohol and they put it back in. It's doable. It's definitely doable. Instead of spending all this money, trying to chip away at gun rights, go for the big kahuna. Go for it. Well, apparently Gavin Newsom has gone for it. And his 28th Amendment, which he's talking about gun repeal of larger guns and all the other background checks and everything else, he's now touting this on his mini stump, Eric, where he's on the "I'm not running for president" stump, while California is just falling apart. And he just keeps gaslighting people in these ads, saying there's nothing wrong here, by comparing obscure statistics of California to Arkansas one day, or California to some town in Florida, or he just cherry picks these bizarre stats. And it doesn't matter what he says. Everybody knows what the truth is, because there's so much video of what's really going on here.
Well,
but
didn't they just pass a law that prevents store employees from confronting people shoplifting?
Okay, well, that's the one CEO who's out of Vancouver, but there's those stores. The Lululemon store CEO, Eric. That's not
Lululemon.
Yeah. He has banned employees from contacting the police. Apparently, you give up all of your American U.S. rights, and these stores were all through the United States. The one that's viral is the one at the Peachtree Mall, I think it is, outside of Atlanta in the suburbs, where they keep going in 3 times a day thugs and carry out all of the athletic wear of value. And so these two women in the store called the police because they were still members of the United States of America. And they said, there's a crime going on right here under our nose. And they called the police and they were fired because this cat says when you work for him, you give up all of your constitutional rights as an American citizen because you're working in his clothing store and you can't call the police if criminals are robbing the store. I swear to God, you can't make this up. So he fired them. And again, they refused to use the Groubert anti-theft device, which I'm marketing. And now finally, for the first time, and I don't know if we have a video of this, but it's viral on Twitter, of a woman in a liquor store in Australia. And a guy comes in, I don't know if you saw this, but the only person to, and obviously she didn't get it from me, but I'm saying it's the only merchant that I've seen use the Groubert anti-theft device. So she installed a button under the counter, and the thief took it was a decanter box of like 8 bottles of wild turkey in a box, which may have been worth, I don't know, $400 or something. And he makes a beeline, the thief, for the sliding glass doors. And guess what? She pushed a button to lock the door and the guy couldn't get out. So he tries and embarrassingly comes back, puts the case on the counter, and she calls the police and he goes out and he's arrested by the police. Now, this is what I've been pitching for like a year to America's merchants. No one even has the balls to install this device that would just simply lock the door while calling 911. So the guy can't get out. You can't get out. There's a robbery in progress. They pick him up and that's the end of it. That word would spread and put an end to this massive $1 trillion, a high multi-billion dollar theft loss, Eric. And it was great to see this liquor store in Australia doing what made common sense to me on how to deal with this problem.
Well, that's similar to Germany, the way they train their dogs. So here in America, we train guard dogs in a house to, bark and make all kinds of noise to keep people out. Mm-hmm. In Germany, the dogs are trained to let them in and then trap them.
Oh, I like that. Well, we don't need dogs for the Groubert anti-theft button.
No, you don't, but it's the principle.
I think that this would really put an end to the entire thing. But maybe they don't want to put an end to the entire thing, Eric. Maybe they like the chaos that ensues. Maybe they believe, as many times I've heard liberals say, they deserve the merchandise. They deserve to rob. They deserve the fruits of crime. Well, the George Floyd riots were going on out here, and they were looting every store in Santa Monica. Many liberals said they deserve what they could take. And there is, in essence, the rub. There it is. They think they deserve because of the massive unfairness of capitalism. And when we went over the Henry Ford episode the other day, we saw how Henry Ford doubled the wage overnight of all of his workers, how he took care of them, how he gave them all these things. They don't like that. Henry Ford fought off those unions for many years because he believed that these guys would just become the middleman between the owner and the workers, which is what they wanted, which is what they did. And he said they would start trouble if there was no trouble, which is what they did. All of these different things happened under Henry Ford's watch. And now we see kind of the chaos that's ensuing. Just the other day here in North Hollywood at Satakoy School, which is right here in LA, elementary school, the parents had enough of this transgender education that's being taught in grades 1 through 6. And they had a protest outside the school. So who shows up? They got the bat signal, Antifa. And all of a sudden they showed up at 6 o'clock and it was on and they had to fight giant Armenian men who just kept punching them in the face.
Good.
It was such a great battle. It reminded me of the great fight between the Klan and the communists in North Carolina in the 80s, whenever that thing was. But man, this was really great to see.
There was another one like that in Oregon or Washington, I don't remember, but a bunch of veterans came and just clean their clocks. It's like
Yes.
you get all
It's
the
so-
former SEALs and special
Right,
forces.
right.
And
Well, these
it's
were
like,
just these guys had grown up under the repression of the Soviet Union.
yeah, just tough efforts.
Just big effing guys who are just not taking it. And the cops are just standing there, and they could care less about the cops, these parents. They couldn't care less. And they just started beating up and taking them on one by one. It was great to watch.
Oh, I'm sure that the cops, some of the cops have sense, and they're probably slow rolling it. Yeah, like, I'm breaking it up. Yeah, I'll be there. Okay.
Well, the LA Times wrote an editorial today saying conservatives are using this abuse of children issue as a phony issue to hide their bigotry of LGBTQ LMNOP groups. And I just found that to be incredibly laughable.
Yeah, like you saw that picture going around with the drag queen story hour with the old boy who's spread out and just flashing the kids the whole time. Yeah, that I'm sure just a made up issue. There's photographic evidence, people. These people have records. They literally are pulling some of the drag queen story out. People, it's like, oh, they have a record. Now, of course, it was shoplifting, right? No, it wasn't that. It is crimes against children.
Right, which leads us to the Washington state judge who ruled that this women's spa, which is a compulsory nude women's spa, it's Korean, and it's Korean, and it's like old style Korean where they offer, and I'm not hip to what they do, but it's these traditional medicines and herbs and rubs and massages that the Korean in their traditional culture. So apparently you have to be naked for this particular place. So one guy with a beard and a penis who claims to be a woman ran around there naked. And this judge today, there he is. There's the guy. He went into this area, the pool there and everything else. And obviously he had to go in there. He was compelled by God or something to go in there. And now this judge, this leftist judge, has ruled that he has every right to be a member. This guy right here with that beard and penis, the penis not being shown obviously in the photo, but there's the judge, this crazy batshit lady who, woke up one day and said, I think guys with beards and penises should be in this Korean women's spa where everyone is naked. What's wrong with that? Well, of course, it's going to lead to the closing of the spa. This is where it's going. So he will then have a scalp of successfully destroying a totally successful business because they're not going to put up with it. The Koreans will pull the plug on the place.
And can you blame them? I mean, they won't have any business. Nobody's going to feel safe going in there. And you said earlier, you're not hip to it. Of course, you're not hip to it because you're a guy and you're not supposed to be in there. So you would have no idea what they're doing in there.
Right.
It's a private space. And this is not dissimilar to forcing the couples to bake a cake. They keep sending in these people, and then you had the guy in Canada or whatever who was forcing the bikini waxes, and of course they're doing it. And it's funny because it's a conflict between different classes, if you will, because they're doing it in Asian places. So technically that's a protected group, but this is a more protected group. Right. And we're getting into the diversity collision here.
Right. Well, there's one case of this Asian kid who applied to, I think, 6 different Ivy League schools and was rejected by all 6 and has a case that was accepted to the United States Supreme Court this week. This may be the case that breaks the camel's back of affirmative action. This particular kid had like a 1600 on his SATs, 4.9999 grade point average, rejected by every single school in the country.
And because it's in their policy, though. They literally have written their policy saying that they are discriminating. That's how far they don't hide the ball. They don't even bother anymore.
Well, they have tried to hide the ball in court, right? And they try to hide documents and refuse to turn over emails and blah, 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 blah. But this may be the guy who wouldn't ride in the back of the bus in terms of affirmative action. So this is an interesting case to keep an eye on. But just getting back to Newsom for 2 seconds on the 28th Amendment, to show you how insane and difficult it is, Eric, you need 2/3 of the states to vote for this. 2/3 of the states legislature have to agree. Then you have a constitutional convention, and then 3/4 of all the states have to vote yes for this to happen. So rational people are asking Newsom, why are you doing this? This is an impossibility beyond anything. And he, without batting an eye, He just says all the people in those red states with red legislatures want to have the 28th Amendment. He knows personally that the people of Iowa, the people of Nebraska, the people of Montana, Florida, Texas, they all want a gun repeal amendment, and that's why he's doing it. It's one of the great disingenuous, and from a guy who is supremely disingenuous, this goes to the top of his list.
Well, maybe Mark, he was really doing deep study on his vacations.
Yeah, I don't know. He goes on his vacation.
While he was, whatever he was doing and out of state and disappearing for times, that was really him in deep study, creating his own constitutional convention.
Well, a woman put up a huge thing supporting him right afterwards, and that was his wife. And I'm reading, it's like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. But anyway, I just watched before the show the second Tucker, which was about child abuse by pedophiles. I don't know if you saw that one. And
yes,
Drag Story Queen Hour and that stuff.
All of it about taboos. And
yeah, taboos.
By the way, that I was going to say earlier that the taboos tie into the theft.
Yes. Yes.
Nothing is sacred.
He mentions that. Yes.
If nothing is sacred, then there you go. And then he mentioned guns.
Yeah.
And I remember caring for Cubans in Guantanamo Bay, and they all were talking about, Castro got our guns or their parents' guns, etc.
How about Australia, where this liquor store owner was not allowed to have a gun? He didn't have a gun, so she installed the Groubert anti-lock device, anti-theft device. I mean, because they don't have weapons, so they're left to their own devices, and I mean devices, to try to survive crime down in Australia.
Right. Well, I was taking it the Tucker route, which is all the way to trying to survive your government.
Right.
I mean,
well, that's the ultimate reason for it. Yeah, it's the ultimate reason. But I mean, just, man on the street crime things, you need to be packing because they're packing.
Oh,
and everybody's packing. You're going to be the only one left out in the musical chairs. I mean, now
coincidentally, the ones who are law-abiding citizens are the ones who don't have the guns because there's a gun law.
Right. Well, that's what this guy said to him. California's got the strictest gun laws. And he said, our murder rate is 72% less than the state of Texas. Another bizarre cherry pick stat that I would have to see what he's referring to, because he just makes these bold, broad statements about crime and other social issues all the time. I mean, LA is just I think it's about 75% higher in gun crime than it was the year before and the year before that. So I don't know what city he's particularly referring to. Maybe the whole state, which has rural areas.
Well, there's the problem. If you look at where they play with statistics, they'll say, this is a red state, and look at all the gun violence. It's like, yes, in their 3 blue cities, they have extreme
St. Louis, violence. St. Louis, and whatever the other city is.
Yeah, Kansas City, St. Louis, or whatever. If you're talking Missouri, but absolutely. Or they'll say that with Florida, and you find wherever the blue city is. And that's going to outweigh the rest. Like New York,
well, it's Nashville, it's New Orleans. I mean, look at what's going on in the Deep South, in Memphis. I mean, any of these blue cities that astonishingly have Democratic mayors, like out of Nashville, they've become complete shitholes, the same as the ones in the Northeast or wherever they are across the country. I mean, who would have thought Minnesota, St. Paul, would turn into one of the most depraved cities in the country? And it's astounding what's happened so quickly, and they're all packing guns. Now, I put up a thing today, which I've talked about many, many times, because I think it was Wayne Root or someone. Yes, so this cat Wayne Root put up the same thing I've been talking about for about 2 years, that the red state attorney generals have to indict all of these players in the game today, whether it's Hillary Clinton, whether it's the Anthony Fauci, or whoever these people are. They have to be indicted by red state attorney generals. And somebody pointed out smartly, that's why they took out Paxton in Texas very recently, because he may have been the guy who was going to start this ball rolling. Just an idea to people to think about it.
Well, the Democrats are doing it, so why not? I mean, look.
Right. No, but I'm saying, right. Indict them at the state level and bring them to trial and bring them in manacles, to your state. Let them stand trial. Something has got to give. I mean, I think articles of impeachment were finally brought up today. Not that they formally introduced them, but they were discussing articles of impeachment against Biden for all of his financial criminal activity, let alone everything else. But I mean, how difficult is it to bring up articles of impeachment in this climate? What is it, a radical idea? I mean, get it on. Get it on. What's the problem here? You know, why are they dragging their feet over this? I think Rand Paul came up with a bill to call the Prevention of the Endless Wars Act, you know, to go against the Patriot Act. But, you know, these are all senatorial, editorial type bills, in my humble opinion, that are going nowhere. I mean, you have to tie them up. One of the ways to tie up this administration is to begin to impeach everybody. What does it cost you? $5? I mean, remember the show that they put on when they brought in Hollywood editors, Eric, and they were showing videos during the impeachment, and it became a whole spectacle that obviously failed. But who gives a shit if it fails? You have to go on the offensive. And they are just, you know, I don't know what they've got on these Republican rhino politicians or any of these Republican politicians or any of these populists. Like, you know, what is the dirt that they've got on these people?
It's not dirt. It's a personality difference.
Okay.
We've talked about it because you always get confused. You're coming from the left, and what you're describing is exactly what they're doing to Trump, right? They're keeping him so tied up with court and everything else while he's trying to run. Yeah. And so the template is there, but the conservative mentality is that's not right. That's improper. It's not dignified. No, I'm telling you.
I know you keep trying to tell me, and
it's an honorable. They have an honorable bend to them, and because of that,
right,
they set themselves up.
Well, they've done very well in Nazi Germany. They could have been so honorable that they would. I'll give an example of honorable in Germany. Tony Kish was a great friend of mine. John Kish, obviously still alive. Tony Kish is dead. One of the funniest guys in New York. John Kish, one of the great fashion photographers in New York. And their parents, both mother and father, worked on the Manhattan Project in Los Alamos and later died of cancer, but worked on the atomic bomb. Grew up on Central Park West, you know, with some degree of wealth. But they were German Jews, and their grandfather had been the personal physician. Now, there may have been 3 or 4 of them. The personal physician to Kaiser Wilhelm in Germany before Hitler came to power. He'd been, he had a number of medals. He had a uniform from World War I, and the Nazis were coming to power, and they were riding around stormtroopers in trucks. You know, in the back of those flatbed trucks, you saw stormtroopers in the brown shirts riding around. They lived in the suburbs of Berlin. So he put on his World War I outfit. He was outraged by the rise of the Nazis. And he said, I'm the personal physician to Kaiser Wilhelm. This is outrageous. So as a protest, he puts on his World War I outfit. Maybe he was a colonel or whatever he was. And he had all the medals on that he got from Kaiser Wilhelm. Mm-hmm. And he stands out on this front lawn as a protest. So the trucks drive by with the SS or the SA in it, actually the brown shirts. And he salutes, you know, like not them, but just saluting the, you know, the Kaiser. So they drive by and that's his protest. And they, you know, back up in reverse and they grab him and they throw him in the truck and they took him to Dachau. And that was the end of his life. So he felt that this was an outrage and they took him right to the concentration camp and he was done. My friend's parents packed up their bags and got out to New York after their father was arrested by the stormtroopers and brought to Dachau, which was originally a politically based concentration camp. They later widened it for other stuff, but it was originally where they put political enemies. He was very dignified. He was very patriotic. He believed in the German Constitution. He believed in the medals that he had won as the Kaiser Wilhelm's, and he'd also been, I guess, a doctor in the front lines in the war. Mm-hmm. He believed in all that stuff. A lot of good it did him, Eric.
True.
Yeah, I mean, we benefited because we got his children who worked on the atomic bomb in Los Alamos, but that was a spinoff that could not be seen.
True. Well, you know what does cheer me up? Mm-hmm. We have some super chats. We have new members. Let's go through a little bit of. Yeah, we have Craig, who became a YouTube member before the show even started. Before it even started, we had Craig.
This guy Craig is an American hero, my friend. Who's this? Thomas Chuck.
Friend, awesome.
His friend. They went together and they joined
That's
together.
Right.
I like that.
And then Rocket 25. All 3 of them actually.
All 3 of them as a trio. They heard the bell of justice.
That's right. Everybody knows what to do with the bell.
Woohoo!
Behind the
Where are we? Like 82K or something, Hunley?
82 and change, like 82.3 or 4. We're getting there.
Well,
we're getting there.
We got to get to another 12. What do we need? 18,000? 18,000. Be part of the movement, folks. Don't sit at home. Reach over with your decrepit, half-eaten fingernails and push the button of justice.
Or use somebody else's finger if you
right. That's what they did with Lee Harvey Oswald. They went in, took the palm print, put it on the rifle. They could have taken his hand and had him push the subscription button, but we weren't a channel yet, so they put the palm print on the rifle and left the mortuary.
You see, and Kiki Ray says that you can ring her bell.
Oh, Kiki, go away. Go. Oh, look at Kiki. That's a nice little logo there.
All right. One painter for hire. First time catching you guys live. Stay safe, gentlemen.
Yeah. Was that a threat? Or would you take that as a threat?
No, I think it's a positive.
I mean,
the real Terry is my opening bid, gentlemen. Opening bid. Good.
I like that. It's an auction against herself. I like that.
That's brilliant. Brilliant stuff. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, you got anybody else there, or should
I've got several more. I was going to just
get it out of your system.
Oh, look at this. Well, His Holiness Jesus. No, great show as always, Mark. If Kamala has the support of the female Black community, why did she perform so poorly during her 2020 run? That was the primaries.
Yes. So try to understand. Well, I know this is complicated, people. I know it's really complicated, but you need to understand the enemy if you're going to fight back. She is the vice president of the United States because the base of the Democratic Party, not the planet Earth, not China, not Harvard, not Harlem, the base of the Democratic Party, the most likely voters, and we talked to Rich Barris about this, are Black Democratic women. That's who she represents. That's her base. And she has an approval rating in that group of somewhere in close to 90% approval rating. That's why she's there. To kick her out of that spot is politically very, very difficult.
I think the reason why it gets confusing is that people are thinking of 100%, but the truth is you're not dealing with 100% of the vote. 60% off the table, will never be there. That's 30% on both sides. They're never changing. You might as well just write them in. Why even bother having
again? I'm just talking about the polling numbers of the base of the Democratic Party. First of all, you got to understand that the power base of the Democratic Party is Black women. Okay, that's number one. That's who votes 100% or 99 for the Democratic candidate. The highest ranking person in their polling is Kamala Harris because of and you could probably go to the other Black elected officials down the line who are women and then men, because the base is mostly a Democratic Black base. That's why they want to switch the primary from New Hampshire, which Bobby Kennedy Jr. is opposed to this switch, to South Carolina. Which is right.
Is there a difference in demographics?
Might be a difference in demographics. Might be a slight demographic difference. Now,
maybe get Iowa out too.
They're trying to do that, right? Then there's a reason for that, and it's because of the base of that party, which is fine. But you got to understand who your enemy is if you're going to fight them. So anyway, make a long story short, if Biden does bail out, for whatever period of time, for health reasons, criminal reasons, his son indicted reasons.
Indictments are coming up now. We got these 5.
Right. Again, this is what Barnes had talked about, the fact that they're going to squeeze him internally to try to force him out. Now, how or whether he survives the squeeze is another question, but the squeeze is going to come. They don't want to indict him. They don't want to trump him, as we say. They want him to leave on his own accord. It looks like he's not going to do that, but nobody could have predicted that LBJ in 1968 was going to do that either, folks. And that revolved around the New Hampshire primary, where even though he won it, McCarthy came in a close second. So, and that was Eugene McCarthy, by the way. Anyway, so he's acting as if he's running. There's some people who believe he's not, and that may open up the field to an RFK Jr. and the Newsoms and my mother and Tim Burton and whoever else will come in. If you notice, there's only 2 candidates who are going up against Biden right now, and that's RFK Jr. and Marianne Faithfull, a.k.a. Marianne Williamson. But a little pop culture reference there. But nevertheless, there's only 2 people. On the Republican side, it's 17,000 people running against Trump.
What do we
right?
have, two that came out this week? I mean,
Every day,
Christie,
Christie, you got
oh.
Fatty came out. Flyhead Pence came out with the fly in his
that's
head.
the other one. That's right.
Somebody else came out. Some other obscure congressman came out. I can't remember right now.
I don't even know. I'm waiting for us to hit 20.
Right. Well, it'll be 17 again. He'll have to do the same thing, which is insane, of course. But nevertheless, if Biden pulls out, then you're going to see the same thing on the Democratic side, where it'll be a wide open field with everybody from the mayor of New York to Gavin Newsom to everybody else. I mean, nobody's going to take on a sitting Biden. In fact, RFK Jr. is rarely ever criticizing Biden, if you notice that, Eric. He will not criticize because they are a communist lockstep party that will not eat, criticize, or do anything to their own. You know what I mean? They will not.
It'd be stupid of him to do it.
Of course it would. Of course it would.
I mean, honestly, he's polling far better than people expected. So if Biden stepped out, RFK would be in the lead by a good margin.
Well, that vacuum would be filled up by other people.
Oh, sure.
Who have also have name recognition.
But he could have a plurality, because if he has enough of a lead and you get a couple heavy hitters in there, then now all of a sudden he could be at 35-40 and they could be at 25-30, and he'll still have that.
Right. I mean, my question to him is, and to anybody out there, is what is your path to victory? Explain the insanity of victory that you think in a party that hates your guts, that deplatforms you on ABC News, that won't allow, which taking stuff down from YouTube, as Eric pointed out, an interview with Mike Tyson and somebody else. From who?
Theo Von
from 3 years ago was removed. What is your path to victory other than Biden stepping down? Because I, for the one, cannot see it. I am curious to see if they will let him into the Democratic Convention Hall in Chicago in 2024. Physically let him in the building. I mean, he may not be given passes to go to the event. It's like, hey, man, I used to be a member of the Eagles. Can I get some backstage passes? No. Can I come in and buy tickets? No. But I used to be in the Eagles. Sorry. You're not coming into the Eagles.
Go home, Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh, you're not coming in. There's a couple other guys who used to be in the Eagles. But nevertheless, I don't understand his path to victory. Now, Cornel West, on the other hand, he may have some followers, but there's a lot of pressure on Cornel West to stop whatever he thought he was doing. I mean, people are just going nuts on their little side of the aisle, their crazy crap. The progressives are going nuts about Cornel West because they do not want to take away any black vote. That's why all of the voting rulings by judges have always, to me, been unconstitutional regarding black voting. Because if they voted 50-50 for two parties, I would be in favor of all of their crazy crap. But they vote in a block, and that's why I believe that those rulings by judges over the years are insanely unconstitutional. Because they vote as a block. That's the one reason, I think, legally, that they vote as a block.
All right. Well, speaking of fun agencies and great subjects.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's from their website.
Yeah. They tweeted. Is their Twitter?
Yeah, that's their Twitter account. I mean, I just stumbled onto that. Somebody sent me that. I mean, CIA. Oh, you sent me that. Well, it said anonymous. I didn't know why you wanted to be anonymous, but
I can only associate.
Oh, you're using that security thing you were selling. That's why. Doesn't that help you?
Yeah.
That's a security device. Well, now you're out of the closet, Hunley. So your friends at the CIA have a pride division, according to this, right? No,
the pride is the whole damn organization.
Right. Good point.
What are you talking about? You saw the recruitment ads that they put on.
Well, I mean, traditionally over the years, it's been beneficial for agents to at least be bi, so they could operate behind enemy lines. Oswald had to do stuff with men, which I'll get into at a later episode when we get to Oswald. Many agents have to do that. Look at Ruth Payne with Maureen Oswald. Both of them had to do something sexual together, according to sources. It's part of the job. Let me just put it that way. So CIA pride does not surprise me, but the fact that they're advertising it does.
Oh, it's everything completely upside down. Let's go through some tips on locals. Grunt 167 sent $5 and said, "I'm just here for the cursing."
Okay, well, go fuck yourself. How about that one? I want to light a fire. We're going to get into the story of the fires after this segment of the Northeast, right, Eric?
Quebec. Yeah.
Where the fire, the smoke is getting in people's eyes. We're going to get into that when we come back from this.
For this segue, to appreciate our viewers, who we do appreciate,
right.
on Locals, and there's plenty more on YouTube too. Thank you. Ale House 20. You dared things could not get crazier. Now
I know. Look, every week they descend into another level. I'll just read this quote from George Orwell. The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history, which is why I wanted to start this channel. That was a George Orwell quote, by the way. And we're seeing that all through this plandemic, or whatever you want to call it, which will bring us into this movie that I saw last night called The Great Awakening, Plandemic 3, which maybe we'll, after you're done with this, maybe we could show a little part of the trailer. Fantastic documentary. I'm going to have to look at the other two. I think I saw the first one, which was only 26 minutes, but this is a full-on hour and 45-minute documentary, big budget documentary.
Yeah, so Kennedy's group, our Children's Health Organization.
No. There's a group out of Canada that is operating there. A guy called Elevate Films, a guy who lives in Ojai named Mickey Willis, former actor, filmmaker, who we'll get into when you show the trailer, but he's the host, and there's all different kinds of people in there, but it's not the Children's Defense Fund.
Okay, I thought they were part of it because it was on the site. There was a marking about them. So okay, Intel is empty. Really digging Mark's look today. Casual yet rugged.
Rugged, yeah. You know why? Because I'm fighting the fires that are coming, the smoke and the fires that are being brought down from the Northeast. We have that all the time here in California, by the way, because Newsom never met a log he ever wanted to pick up and move. So they catch fire every year, and then we get smoke coming down from the Northwest. Now, for the first time in New York, they're experiencing it, or the first time, but it's been a while, that these fires in Canada, which Eric might think or is suggesting there might be more to it than just natural fire starting with lightning. Yeah,
there's a interesting video from YouTube.
Who's starting these fires, do you think? You think it's the eco-terrorists?
I'm not sure, but South Texas gal on Local sent a $40 tip. Loved your opening, and Mark loved your comments on those two idiots.
Those two idiots. I just want to start a fire under people's asses, by doing something. I don't care about the fires. I want to start a political fire under people so they'll get off their fat asses and do something against the deep state.
Sounds like a good idea.
Thank you for coming by. Thank you.
All right, hang on. Let me get this video up here and running. This guy's another YouTube channel. It's not super loud, it appears, but
what's this?
This is where this guy pointed out he just tracks satellites and things like that for earthquakes, different national or natural phenomena. And
up here in the upper right hand corner,
watch
this. Throughout the day today, a giant outbreak of fires has taken place across a whole Canadian province all at once. Look up to the northeast, up here in Quebec. All of Quebec just caught on fire all at once on a clear day. I would say this would be some kind of terrorism of some kind.
He's right. He must be right.
Here it is. Here we are. I'm going to let the images load.
Lovely.
You can see this morning. It's clear. Just partly cloudy skies. Nothing really crazy going on.
That was my first question. It was about weather. Yeah.
Well.
Is he talking to me?
Yeah, he's talking to all of us.
Night. Here's today.
Look at see that those.
All of
you see those strikes down there?
Mm-hmm.
Coming out.
Yeah.
Insane.
How does that happen?
Insane.
Simultaneous.
Well, let me tell you something. This is eco-terrorism, I guess. I mean, this wouldn't be the first time. The whole thing. This wouldn't be the first time. All at once.
Yeah, and that kind of does that remind you of remember we had an egg problem?
Yeah, with all those fires of all the now the prices. Dollar Tree put eggs back in Dollar Tree because my audience is Dollar Tree. Those are the shoppers I want to speak to. Those are my people who shop at the 99-cent store, Dollar Tree. Eggs are back in there for $1.25 in Dollar Tree, people. And I don't know where they came from or how they miraculously reappeared, but maybe the Biden administration unleashed the chickens.
Yeah, all of a sudden these things clear up. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and found it very interesting.
Just start the fire. Let the people cook on their own. Oh, my fire starter's gone out now. Oh, there it is. We're back.
Well, Elizabeth Borson loves the program.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. Now, you saw the Tucker thing, right?
Yes, I did. And
okay, so what is the story about? There seems to be a debate now between Fox and Tucker. Tucker's friend came out, the gay guy who was on the show a lot. He had the final transcript of Tucker's last show that he released.
Oh, I didn't know this one.
Which we could possibly get and put up on locals for our people. And then he also talked about today, the same guy, the big toothy guy, the gay toothy guy. He was talking about the fact that Tucker's lawyers found a loophole, and
that one I know.
Okay, well, Fox is reporting that there was no loophole, and now they're going to go after legally Tucker now for being on Twitter with 80 billion followers on Twitter.
So they're screwed. They're in a box because, okay, this is the way I understand it. As we discussed, Tucker has more money than sense. I mean, he has no financial worries whatsoever. He told Fox, screw you, keep your money. Then he went on Twitter and released a show. Now, Elon Musk, do you remember when Elon Musk said that Twitter has not signed any document anything else with Tucker Carlson? He did not. So that's clear. And Tucker Carlson's putting out a free program on Twitter. I don't think you can even subscribe to him. So it's free. And if Fox goes after him for putting that on Twitter, that means every other journalist in the industry is in breach of contract because they're all on Twitter and they're all sharing their opinion. He's putting out a tweet with an opinion, if you think about it.
That's how his lawyers are going to frame it. What the Fox lawyer is going to frame it is he's got a competitive show on another channel, quote unquote.
But Twitter is not a channel. Twitter is not a network. Twitter is not. That's why it's devious as hell, and it really puts the screws into them. And then, let's say, what are they going to fight over?
They're trying to silence him. The Dominion deal.
That's the point.
The Dominion deal, according to sources, was about one of the little caveats in the deal.
Sure,
was pulling the plug on Tucker, having nothing to do with voting machines or anything else, which Fox immediately did, literally within 72 hours of the settlement of the insane Dominion financial settlement from hell. Tucker was gone. So people rightfully thought there was linkage.
But you can't argue that. That's slavery. You can't say that we want
there's also non-competitive agreements and contracts, Eric.
But he's not competing. So if you take away
that's your opinion. That's your opinion.
It doesn't matter though. There's no money incentive. So my point is that Fox is not losing money.
Okay, let me just push back again because there will be ad revenue, according to Musk, that would go to Tucker, right?
Could be. But they don't have any agreement. No, they don't have an agreement. And again, Tucker doesn't have a subscription. I don't believe he's monetized on Twitter. But I don't know that.
I think he will be, though. That was the
plan. He could be tomorrow if he wants, but he's not. Right. And the point is that as long as he's doing this and there's no financial motive from them, all he's doing is gutting Fox.
Well, he's doing more than that. He's giving 72 to 81 million people. I don't know what the final numbers were of views. Even if it's 81 million of people just looking past it or just getting it on their notice, he may have had 20 million hardcore viewers who watched the whole thing.
Oh, he had a lot. Yeah. I mean,
which is more than all of the news channels combined, folks.
Like for
that's what he is, the Donald Trump of media. I mean, they can't imprison him because he hasn't done anything that they could find, but they have tried to break down his door. Remember that, Eric, when they came to his house, when the mob literally came to Tucker's house and tried to break his door down. That's how bad this guy is hated by the people on the other side.
Oh, how bad he's hated by Fox too, because remember they went up to Maine and tore down his studio. Right, so he's just rebuilt it out of his pocket. I mean, I love what he's doing because he's just
Well, he's
doing what-
musky in a way because, as we pointed out in the episode, which is on this channel, Who is Dick Carlson, what Eric is alluding to that I'll spell out here in English. It's his father married very well, and there's a lot of money in the Carlson estate. Yeah, twice. Yeah, there's a lot of money in the Carlson estate. Let me just put it that way. He's not in need of money. Now, I am, so we now have a Cash App for me, and and this is one of the benefits of the book fund from PayPal to Cash App. I got this yesterday. This is by Claire Provost and Matt Kennard, Silent Coup, How Corporations Overthrew Democracy. This is where the book fund money goes, people, if you want to know. It's not just JFK books. There's other books that, I mean, they're all $25 a pop. So it's just think about it. 4 books for me is $100 out of my pocket, every time I buy these things. The rare books, of course, even more, as Eric has found out. So I'm just giving a thanks out to the Cash App, PayPal, Venmo people who are contributing to the book fund. Thanks.
Yep. And even my audiobooks that I buy are $25 a pop.
Yeah. What is the deal, man? I mean, it's just insane. The prices of books have just gone berserk. Maybe because all the trees are burning down in the Northeast.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Oh, good God. All right. But on that note, so we'll collect a little more money. The real Terry, one cannot accidentally get to Michigan, like drive through it, unless you're from Canada and go south. So will you guys ever do a meetup in Michigan?
That's not going to happen. I know. That's not
unless we get, you know what? I'm never going to say never, because if we have people who are in an area, some miracle, and they go, you know what, we have to have America's Untold Stories, and we will fund getting them here. But sure, I mean, we're open.
I'll just interject this. We had a group from the Chicago Stock Exchange when we were editors at Lampoon. They were on the Chicago Commodities Exchange. Very wealthy guys, and they just wanted to party. They would fly us to New Orleans every year, this group, just to party with us and do things with us as a meetup as National Lampoon editors. And we went to New Orleans, and they met us there, and we all went crazy. So I'm not going to rule out Michigan for that reason.
Yeah, I will have some qualms if it's Saudi Arabia that's funding us. Now, I know they've got the money, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we could probably shoot a lot of guns in Michigan, so that might be fun, or have some, dirt bike stuff or whatever they got going on there. We could join a militia for the week. How about that? How about that for a meetup, militia meetup week in Michigan? That would be fun.
Yeah, and I've got a whole series from Helena Olejnik, 220, I think Canadian. 220, I think Canadian. What? 220, I think Canadian.
I think she fell asleep on the button. No, she's unconscious. She's like the ghost pilot. She's like the ghost pilot, Eric. She's flying that private jet with the Air Force scrambled. She's just unconscious, look at this, hitting the button.
I scrolled down. 220. Hit the button. Thank you very much.
Well, you can ask a question, lady, for 220.
Oh my goodness, yes. But we do appreciate it. And that took care of a few.
Wow.
Let me see. We got the May Brussels project. Can I have Mark's watch?
Oh, this is a rare one. You're not getting this one, lady. I'm sorry. Nice try. I just got the battery replaced, and it glows in the dark, which is really cool.
I've actually talked to the May Brussels project on Twitter. The individual is scanning all of May Brussels documents.
Yeah, it's well worth it. There's a lot of documents, but there's a lot of stuff that's out of date also from the original gangsters who did this stuff. The people that came first are American heroes, without a doubt. But for our purposes, there's been a lot of updates on the stuff that they discovered. So we're trying to get to the truth totally, as opposed to any kind of hero worship of Penn Jones and May Brussels, all who are American heroes. There's no doubt about it. But a lot of the stuff, there's been stuff added onto that since that time, which is great.
Oh, for sure. But having some of the early stuff, which could disappear because, like you,
it's great
have to get some of those rare old books that there's that one nugget in there that you find.
Dude, I don't even have my MTV magazine scanned. I mean, because I come from an analog world, Eric, and I live in a digital society. I mean, I'm one in the generation that most of the bulk of my work is in analog.
Boomer.
No, but I'm saying just of the creation of the stuff I did.
Of course.
It's all analog, the Lampoon stuff, the MTV stuff, and now everything's digital. you know, at some point I got to hire somebody to digitize all the crap. Even the LA Weekly stuff, not really digitized, the stuff I did in the 90s.
Yeah, well, you lived through and
Right.
crossed the divide just like I did,
right.
which is it's a weird spot.
It's a weird spot. It's a weird spot for an artist because a lot of the stuff I have, I can't just email somebody. You know what I mean? I've got to scan it, then and it's a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And of course you had to do it about 2 or 3 years. You finished, and then it went digital.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, good job, because you were using computers to generate your magazine.
Yeah, the MTV one.
So you had it digital. Technically, it was digital.
Yes.
But you didn't get across that last divide of.
Well,
of
it's MTV stopped paying us for the magazine at one point. They told us to go fuck yourselves. And I said, how do we get the money? Oh, it's like $188,000 or something. It was something at the end. We had done like 18 issues over a period of 2 years, and they just pulled the plug on it. And it wasn't even their money. It was more Bertelsmann Music Group money. But the guy who was a friend of mine up there said, you have to sue us to get the money. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, take my word for it. Just lawyer up, sue us. And when you go to depose us, that's when MTV settles on every case. And I go, really? He goes, yeah, just do it, which is what happened. And it worked fine. We got the money. But there was one point where we had all these computers, Eric, all through the offices. They were all brand new Macs, big Mac monitors, the original big Macs and everything else. And we realized that they were going to come and take that stuff. So we decided to act first. So we're in this building and we wheeled in with hand carts, big boxes that were filled with pillows. And we just said delivery. And they were empty boxes. They were with pillows. And we loaded up in these boxes with hand carts all the different computers and rolled them back out in uniform, like a delivery guys. And we just said, hey, thanks, have a nice day, to the security guard, right? Those were the computers. And we took them to our apartments, and MTV showed up to change the locks on all the office doors and seize the computers. There was nothing in there. And they called us up saying, what did you do with those computers, you sons of bitches? And we simply said, I
don't know.
We said, possession is 9/10 of the law, and you don't have possession of it. And we ended up with all those Macs and getting paid. But they were a criminal enterprise, MTV. Really were a criminal enterprise. And they may still be, for all I know.
Wow. We got $10 from Sean Bren. Perfect examples of citizens who get tired of it. Battle of Athens, post-World War II veterans, and the one where that town ended. Oh, yeah. Ken McElroy. Have you heard this case?
What?
This guy, it was like in Kansas, some town in Kansas or Texas or something. It was somewhere in the middle of the country. This guy was like the town bully. I mean, he was a right bastard to everybody around him. And he was shot in front of like 5 people, and
they let him.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And nobody saw a thing. And it wasn't even a jury nullification. It was like they couldn't find anybody to convict him or say anything about it. Everybody hated that son of a bitch so much. It's crazy. Jay Clover, finally caught you live again. Good. BTK, I hope the guards are letting you do this. U.S. government has unionized employees. How? Who then represents taxpayers at contract negotiations? Taxpayers are getting shafted. That's true.
That's interesting.
Let me see. Pasha Moyer. I live in
that's where he lives. Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
There's a first-hand report.
Yep. I definitely believe that our capital city is in a very bad way. In fact, I'm convinced I'm not far enough away.
Right. Well, I don't know what's going on, but it seems that city is gone, and nobody could bring it back. And it's gone San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, they just follow Minneapolis, which already is a problem. New member, Bobby Bronco. Thank you. Amazing Blumpkin. Here's 5 for the Bell of Justice.
The Bell of Justice, folks. It can ring for you for a mere $5. There it is.
Or you can get a cheap version. And remember to subscribe. Let me see. Thanks for the great info from Bob Tranquilli. And Catherine K is a new member.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And
You want to run this trailer that we were talking about for Plandemic 3?
sure. Well, at least
Or
a
some
part of
portion
it.
Part of it, at least.
Let me pull
This
it
you got to
up.
see this film this weekend. I'm really recommending this film. It's free, for Christ's sakes.
On Rumble.
On Rumble, the free speech platform, where Nazis love to congregate, among other people.
That's true. Free speech means all of it.
Yeah, it means all of it. Yeah.
Sorry to say.
Yeah.
Let me go full screen. Hold on.
Also, we should talk about CNN and Chris Lick getting out after this.
For sure.
Just on my mind.
We're playing this not on Rumble only, but also YouTube.
All right. Well, don't worry about it. The film can be found on Twitter and on Rumble, and it's really well edited. It's really well done. The cat you heard speaking was a guy named Mickey Willis out of Ojai. He's got a family. I think he may have been red-pilled because he's been making films since 2001 that are kind of on the other side. But this one is really, really well done. And there's a plot twist I'm not going to give away, because he found a guy of footage of a guy from I want to say the 1940s or late 40s, maybe in the 50s, black and white footage of a guy making films, sort of like commercial films about the communist Red Menace. And you look at it and then you just go, oh, I've seen these, the kind of stuff you got in school or something in the 50s. But watch this film and see what happens to that particular guy in the film. Really, really interesting development near the end, and super, super well edited. If you think you know what this is about, you don't, because I was just riveted last night.
Oh, wow. Good. Yeah, Chris Licht. Now, we were talking about him on the phone. Okay. My observation about Chris is he did a hell of a job. In 1 year, think of how much trash he cleared out.
Yeah. I mean, he may have been brought in there to be the Grim Reaper, to go in and clear out the forest of the dead leaves, the dead trees or something, because he did do some damage or creative control of CNN until again, like Spotify with Joe Rogan, where the employees have risen up against the Chris Licht establishment as a CEO. I mean, the head CEO has gotten rid of him. Now, as I pointed out, here's a guy running a news network, and you go, well, he's probably had a lot of experience running a news network. In fact, his only experience is being the producer of the Stephen Colbert late night show. I mean, this is where the cat came from, bro. I mean, he was the producer of a comedy show.
His predecessor was a producer of The Damn Apprentice.
Right. That's right.
So, I mean, it's an odd relationship.
Why can't they get someone from a news network? I mean, there must be 1,000 people who are qualified, who are executives, vice presidents or whatever.
Maybe because they don't want it to be news.
Interesting.
I mean,
well, nevertheless, he's gone. And the reason the story is important is he's been replaced by a Soviet Politburo style of leadership as interim CEO committee of some Bubamaises, where this committee is now going to run CNN. They named a few of the people. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. So it's going to be like a Soviet Politburo over there running CNN, which is going to be fascinating to watch.
It's great. They're just admitting what they are now.
Right.
It's a communist news network. Just went the whole way. It was the Clinton News Network. Now it's the communist news network. It's just a matter of degrees.
Right. Wow. I just thought that's really perfect for CNN that a committee would run it. You know what I mean? And that'll be the model for all their stuff. Now, a committee runs the DNC, and that's become a Democratic, Communist Party operation by itself. But the networks, they're opposed to having strong leadership in the country and in corporations. And there's a black woman who was the diversity officer of the state of Washington. Another story about the state of Washington. She was fired yesterday for making racist statements about Mexicans and fat people. Fat shaming people who worked in the state government in Washington, and also that she didn't trust Mexicans. I thought the diversity officer job is so precious because I think that the role would have to be that you are without sin. You know what I mean? The job itself, which is say, I have no prejudices, I have no bias. I have been hired. I am one of these people. I deserve to be a diversity officer because I have no biases. But everybody does. Everybody does. So unless they come out in public in emails, which hers did, every diversity officer is going to be like this.
Well, look at Dolezal. She wasn't a diversity officer, but she was like, head of the NAACP. And so it is so astounding. Or how many perverts are coaches? How many are these people? Like,
do you remember the story of the guy in his truck who gave the white power salute, but he was really cracking his knuckles? I think Tucker was showing that in his episode. He lost his job. He just had like a electric company truck or something, and he supposedly gave a white power salute out of the side of his truck. But
you mean the OK sign?
Yeah, but he got fired and lost everything for whatever sign he put on the side, with his hand hanging out the door. So Tucker covered it briefly in this phony search for white supremacy, that's hidden somewhere that nobody finds them anywhere. They're in the mountains of Idaho having a secret cabal up there.
Well, dude, it's perfect because you can say they're out there and you never have to demonstrate anything. And you have the FBI who are, at half of the meeting anyway.
Right.
So in every, quote, supremacist group, at least 2 are federal agents. Now, it's not always FBI. I'm going to be fair. ATF does their share too.
And intelligence officers of urban police forces too. You know what I mean? There's different levels.
Yeah. And those who aren't actually agents are going to be snitches. So you have a combination of informants, actual agents.
Well, to be fair, there's a book I have, which I may do an episode on. It's about the FBI unit, the Beards. And the Beards in 1972 were a group of FBI agents who grew their hair long, had long beards, and infiltrated the Weather Underground and leftist groups, Eric. And it was kept away from J. Edgar Hoover because they feared he would fire them if Hoover knew about this group, because of the look, not because of the activity. Yeah. And one guy wrote a book that I have, which is really fascinating, about infiltrating the Weather Underground, having to do acid with them, involved in some sexual hanky-panky with them on purpose to prove that he's part of the group. And interestingly enough, got involved in some, not in a bad way, but he stopped a couple of bank robberies by the Weather Underground. And just to say, it's not all the FBI infiltrating the right. They, in the early 70s.
No, they're very legit. I've interviewed undercover agent who infiltrated the environmental groups, who burning down the buildings and stuff. She and her husband, and they got outed by other people in the Justice Department.
There's a picture of these guys graduating from FBI school in their white shirts and ties and suits. There's another picture of them as the hippie Beards as a group. And it's really interesting to see the contrast.
Now, this is a sidetrack from that, but do you know why in the military you're not allowed to have a beard?
It may get caught in something?
No, gas masks.
Oh, right. That's right.
And you can die.
That's right.
So there's a legit reason for that. And I think the FBI might be a similar.
That's why they had to do away with the infamous Hasidic division of the U.S. Army. What?
Okay. Yes. I'm sure. Yes.
The Hasidic division fought bravely in the Battle of Ashkenazi, which very few people know about in World War II.
Definitely is overshadowed.
Plus, if there's a fire, that beard could go up in a second. You know what I mean?
That's right. All right. JM. When Republicans were impeaching Bill Clinton, Congress member scandals started dropping spontaneously from the sky. They're all dirty, and the FBI has the goods. Yep.
Well, somebody's got the goods, and I don't know who pulls the strings, but somebody's got to throw their body on a grenade here. I'm sorry for your scandal.
Okay, I think people have written in about this guy too. Are you going to do a show on former Dallas police officer Roscoe White, who died in 1971 of burns suffered in a fire, had kept a secret diary of his undercover intelligence activities?
No.
I'm not familiar.
No.
Super sticker from Jimbo. I like that name, Jimbo. Mint Sky is a member.
Roscoe White's son claims there's a diary, never produced it. His father was an alcoholic, died, self-inflamed situation. It's one of these kids of the. First of all, he's a Dallas police officer, so you have to take it with a grain of salt.
That's true. Cessaration's a new member. D.S. Hogan. Pre-1122 pain has been handled by elite dollars using psych channeling council of 9 participants. Andres, I can't say that. Puerich, and names Bouveret and DuPont. Okay.
I don't know what that means. Pre-1122, Ruth Payne was doing other stuff. Was being handled by elite money using psych channeling?
Yeah, a council of 9.
Never heard of any of this. But I like the 499, but I'm sorry, I haven't heard of any of this.
Please see earlier question. I don't remember earlier.
What was the earlier question?
Yeah, we have a lot of chats going.
Dude, I don't know what that was. I'd be happy to look at it, but I don't know.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The earlier question.
Ekrindal. How about a series about the SNL scandal?
That's been covered so much. Go
Has
on.
Mark read Peter Bruton's book, The Mafia, CIA, and George Bush?
No, I haven't.
We have a lot of people that are very interested in HW. Gary Luludis, $20.
Whoa. How about a question, Gary?
Luludis. I think it's Luludis.
Luludis.
Or Luludis. I don't know. Let's see. Rich Buddy, Hollywood meetup, somewhere a bit eccentric.
That's the whole town. You don't have to go too far here.
Well, Mark,
I mean, if it is Hollywood, there's plenty of places we could meet up that are eccentric. That's for sure. But Eric and I have talked about with Greg Budell, who is becoming the mouth of the South down there for me out of Montgomery, Alabama. I did a show yesterday with him. We've been doing a regular half-hour Thursday thing that Eric's been posting on our locals channel. But we talked about possibly Labor Day in Montgomery, Alabama, which I don't think is going to be too hot. It's not going to be too cold. It's not going to be too blue. It's going to be red. It's going to be a place. Maybe we're going to have some music, a restaurant.
Moderately safe place too.
Moderately safe place with, and Greg runs a radio station there, so it may be we could tie it in possibly with radio coverage and boost the message, make a little bit more and do a live show from the restaurant or wherever the place is that we would get. So that's what I'm trying to work with Greg to try to find a place at some point.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome too.
Well, you could get there, right? Can you?
Yeah, I could drive there.
Oh, it's perfect for you then. Sure. What do you care? I got to get on one of those aluminum tubes where the woman in back of me is changing her baby's diarrhea diaper in mid-flight and refuses to go to the bathroom. You could just drive with your wife. What do you care?
Well, I'm dignified.
Yeah.
I'm not some Hollywood flake.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm into driving places now. I mean, I am so over flying unless I have to for business. I am going nowhere by plane, folks. If it's drivable, I'm driving it. I don't give a crap. I mean, this kid gave a crap, and it was all over the back of the seat on the serving table.
They knew you were coming. Dan Heck with the super sticker.
Dan Hicks in his hot licks.
And okay,
Anonymous is back.
Anonymous.
Whoa!
I have no idea who they are.
That's Anonymous. $4.99. He doesn't even care.
No. Let me see. I got some locals tips that have been coming in through the show.
Wait a minute. We got a sponsor here. I forgot all about this. Furry Lewis, Heroes of the Blues. Today's hero of the blues is Furry Lewis. He's a great, pretty famous guy, Furry Lewis. Walter Furry Lewis, born in 1895, raised in Memphis, where he learned guitar in the early 1900s by listening to a middle-aged street singer named Blind Joe. Never a full-time musician, Lewis played mainly on local streets, where his most popular piece was John Henry. Everybody knows that song, John Henry. Over 1927, 1928, recorded 23 sides. In the 1960s, the personable Lewis began a second career as a concert performer, Eric, even appearing in a Burt Reynolds movie. And you could win a prize if you could tell me what Burt Reynolds movie Furry Lewis appeared in. And now back to the show.
Yeah, I wouldn't know which one he appeared in. Looking at the age, though, it's got to be an early one.
Well, it's Burt Reynolds didn't make many early movies. I mean, he went on a run there. Smokey and the Bandit, Smokey and the Bandit 2.
No, before that, banjos.
Semi-tough.
No, the banjos. The dueling
Banjos
banjos.
called Deliverance. It's a
Deliverance,
famous James Dickey novel for the uninformed, but Eric calls it Banjos.
Hey, I can't remember the damn name. I got to get there somehow. It works.
Banjos. That's the name of the movie.
Yeah, well, if I drive into the middle of nowhere, we look at each other and say, I hear banjos.
Right. Everybody knows what you're talking about. It's also known as Squeal Like a Pig as a subtitle in other foreign languages. But perfect. Well, by the way, did you notice that they're altering? There was an article about people using subtitles as they watch TV. I talked to you about this on
yeah, I shared it on Locals and
right. I'm doing the same thing. It's hard for me to hear the high and low and mid-range dialogue, and I kind of explained it audio-wise that there was something going on, right?
Yeah, they used to pump the mid-range, and then somebody pointed out that there actually was a law, or like they had FCC requirements that the mid-range had to be X decibels, higher. You know who you never have to have subtitles for?
Who?
Commercials.
Oh, commercials. I noticed that.
And that's what they used to do for normal television. Notice the commercials that voice comes right through punching in your ear. They do that on normal TV.
Let me ask the people in the chat, how many of you are using subtitles or closed captioning when you're watching a movie now or the new or anything that's streaming or on TV? I'm just curious as to people in the chat and the comments.
Especially if there's an accent. Oh God.
Right. I'm not talking about foreign films. I'm talking about.
No, I'm talking about Brits.
No, me too. I use it for British movies all the time now. Absolutely. I use it for English movies. I use it for any movies that have accents. But I find myself using it. Then there was an article in the paper about it. That's why I mentioned
in the Atlantic. Yeah, I shared.
In the Atlantic had a big piece about it. How everyone's using closed captioning and subtitles now.
Yeah, what's so funny
if it's timed right. There's sometimes you can't watch it because it's not synced up.
You know what though? Even then it's okay because it's like a reference point. You know, like if it's a slight delay on the subtitle, then you can be like,
I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, I prefer it if it's synced up, but even then, whatever.
Well, in foreign films, just so people know from the film industry, films are either dubbed or given subtitles based on the literacy level of the nation they've sold the film to. Isn't that interesting, Eric?
I thought it was always the 12th grade level, like newspapers, but
or not 12th grade, but 12 in other words, a film is sold in markets, right? They're sold country by country. The literacy level of that country will indicate whether the film is dubbed or given subtitles.
That makes perfect sense.
I know. Well, I don't know if it makes perfect sense because it's a metric, so it's not perfect sense. There is a metric.
Well, it makes perfect sense to me because it's money, and you want to get the maximum amount of people to view the movie. And so if you're saying, not enough people can read, so we got to get our money back out of this damn thing.
Right. No, I understand, but I'm just saying I don't know what that number is. I just found it fascinating that they use the literacy level of a particular market to whether they'll dub or go with subtitles.
Well, subtitles are cheaper. Captions, especially now, the captions are getting better and better and better. Hell, our show is being captioned.
Well, dubbing, you got to go back in and you
got actors.
Yeah, not so easy.
And by the way, they actually
people even here prefer dubbed. When you go to Netflix, you have a choice here, bro. You can go with dubbed or subtitles.
Well, they've gotten good, and they have
people like dubbing.
Actors.
People like dubbing.
No, but I mean there are some actors out there that are specialized, and not only that, they tweak it in a manner and choose words that match the lips pretty well. And these guys are really
it's a nightmare. You got to sync up the mouth and everything. It's a nightmare.
But it's an impressive talent. I mean,
I think they did it with All Quiet on the Western Front, the Netflix award-winning film, the remake of All Quiet on the Western Front. They did a dub version as the main version, and it's a German film. That's what I'm saying. It's odd that I think you can find the subtitled All Quiet on the Western Front, but the dubbed one is the main one.
I can believe it.
Mm-hmm.
What's weird too, because the Germans also so many Germans speak English that
right. You'd be surprised how many. You'd be surprised how many don't once you get over there. It's really surprising how many don't. If you go to south into Bavaria, into the Schwarzwald, into that region of southern Germany, they're indignant about it, and they will not buckle, even if they don't. Even if they do speak English, they're not going to speak it to you.
Okay.
Which happens in Montreal too. I told Viva about this, Mr. and Mrs. Viva, when I was over their house, how I would go to the comedy festival in Montreal every year, and if you talk to the cops or anybody asking for directions who were French, they would just tell you to go fuck yourself. They wouldn't give you directions.
And that's the French.
No, but I'm saying it's in Montreal, which is a bilingual city, Eric.
Sure.
They will not go the other bi. They just go lingual.
Well, and that's because they actually have a language police there. They're so up their ass in it. David has worked cases, Viva, where they did something horrible, like they put OZ on a label for ounce and didn't use the French version of it. It gets bonkers. Like they're worried they're going to lose their culture.
Right.
But speaking of culture, Elizabeth Borson, COVID came from the Chinese lab.
Who's the woman? Elizabeth Theramos? What's her name? Who just went to prison?
Oh, finally! God, it took her long enough. What
Right.
she had two
She was
children.
in there she was in there one day, and she had her whole family meeting her inside. Her parents were in there. There were a picnic table.
It's disgusting. I mean, well, she scammed so many people. It's amazing. And then she literally had two children while in trial and delay. It's like,
that's good. She'll see them every visiting month, when they show
up. Where's the little Patsy Oswald? Oswald's right here.
He's right there. He's at Hunley's side. He never leaves Hunley's side. He loves Hunley.
He travels with me.
Oswald travels with Hunley. He's like a little Hunley safety device.
But I did put a link in the chat, and if you want Oswald yourselves, you can go directly to it, erichunley.com/Oswald. That'll take you to it. Or, the
Hunley's got an entire side business just on Patsy the dog. He's just got a whole fucking, can I say that? Underground.
I always like that. Oh, can I say that? Well, you kind of did.
Just trying to be polite, Eric. Anyway,
I appreciate
a lot of people are referencing Saul Alinsky, in terms of the Trump indictment. You may want to start reading some Saul Alinsky books, the street organizer from Chicago, who was
Rules for Radicals.
Rules for Radicals. He was the advisor, spiritual advisor indirectly of Obama and Hillary Clinton, both of whom have incorporated Alinsky, not as opposed to Z and Alinsky. There is a Saul Alinsky, Alinsky, at a Chicago street organizer and union organizer from the 60s and 50s. Strongly recommend you read these books just to know what you're up against.
You know what I was surprised about with him?
What?
I didn't know. I thought he was of the ilk, but he was an enemy to the Weather Underground and an enemy to heirs because he did not. He felt
he turned on them. He turned on them.
Yeah, he said that what they were doing is going to destroy them all because it's evil.
Yeah. Too little, too late. That was all I could say. I mean, they didn't even do jail time. They blew up federal buildings. You want to talk about an insurrection? These guys blew up tons of buildings, did all kinds of bombing damage, went right back to the University of Chicago to become teachers and advisors to Obama.
Kay Oakley with a super sticker. Thank you. Andrew Ho. We already know that the next pandemic is scheduled for 2025. Severe epidemic intravirus respiratory syndrome. WEF has already run their event 201 for it, just like they did for COVID-19.
Yeah, I mean, like I said last week, if you read RFK Jr.'s Fauci book, the last chapter, it'll blow your mind as to the planning that went into this operation, the war games that they ran to get this going for years. Well documented by RFK Jr., footnotes and documentations under the Freedom of Information Act. Mind blowing. And in this pandemic movie, The Great Awakening, they talk about Fauci's involvement with HIV and the AZT drug that killed thousands and thousands of gay men under Fauci's tutelage, intentionally by Fauci.
Well, you've got 2 movies of the week, but the Dallas Buyers Club could always be a movie too if you want to talk Fauci. Yeah,
I'm talking about entertainment. Let me just show you. Jesus, you're depressing me, Hunley. There's a movie I saw for the second time, and I hadn't seen it since it came out, and it was called This Is the End. If you want to laugh your ass off this weekend, James Franco, Seth Rogen, all of these guys in this movie. It's one of the funniest, post-2000 movies around that era. 2013, or whenever this came out, 15.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All of these different people in there are a fantastic troupe. Danny McBride is in it, and Craig is in it. Craig Robinson, the black dude.
From The Office, yeah.
Michael Cera's in it. I mean, there's just all these cameos, and it's absolutely, you will laugh your ass off at this movie. If you need to laugh at something, watch This Is the End this weekend, and you will have a great time. It is damn funny. It really is. I mean, look, I don't care what their politics are. I do care, but this is a brilliant comedy.
Wow. Well, you have. So I'll bring you back down, but this is on you because you sent it.
Right.
We'll talk about fentanyl.
Oh yeah, this is I wanted to talk about this. This is a picture of a kid who lives in a public restroom on fentanyl. This is his belongings. This is where he lives. He's nodding on fentanyl, young kid. And the second photo shows you the freebies he got. I don't know if you have the second photo.
Mhm.
The freebies that he got from the government, from Biden, how they target children. These are all crack pipes, people, and different materials involved in smoking fentanyl. Look at the children-esque nature of the color and graphics involved. And then look, right, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like candy or something. I mean,
that's right. Now, this is the same. Keep in mind, they banned flavored vapes because it might go into children's mouths. But this is what they produced on their own. This is not a private company. It's the federal government and the state governments producing this. And if you saw the earlier picture, that's the result of him using their implements. Now, this could not be accidental. This is how he lives. This is him on fentanyl. Go back again, show the tools. This is from the government. Go back to the original photo. This is the result of fentanyl, and this is where he lives in a public restroom. This cannot be accidental. Nobody is that stupid to have a federal program that markets crack pipes for children.
You know what's sad too is that the packaging actually looks like Pop Rocks, and I can't help but think going from Pop Rocks to crack rock.
Well, people did make jokes about it at the time.
Yeah, but then you're branding it. I mean, that's sick.
But these are pipes. These are not, Pop Rocks. These are crack pipes.
I know.
It's just, believe me, and I'm a former drug dealer. This is astounding. This is really astounding. Now they in New York, they put in their first vending machines in New York, big red vending machines that look like you would get a DVD out of it. And inside those vending machines in New York are now crack paraphernalia, fentanyl paraphernalia, Narcan in case you overdose, and some other things in these vending machines with a glass front so you could see what you're getting. This is called enabling in the drug recovery business, folks. This is not harm reduction. There it is. There's the blue machine on the right. Here's a guy bragging about it in the ghetto or in the project. This is a city project, obviously. And that's where they put it. They're going to have like a metal gate. There's Narcan. I have the same thing in my bag. I carry Narcan wherever I go as a drug counselor because I have used it on people in overdose situations from fentanyl and heroin to bring them back to life. But this is selling pipes and everything else in there, syringes, all kinds of crap to keep your drug life going. That's a little different story, in my humble opinion.
It's disturbing.
Very disturbing.
But on a happier note, Pasha's pointing out that there's also the mole division of the Army.
the Moyle division of the Army. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Do they have circumcisions? I don't know what the tranny division does, but once we go into the NATO World War III and we bring our tranny division into Ukraine, we're going to find out how good of a fighting machine they are.
Well, I would think if it's really a tranny division and they're serious about it, they won't stop at the foreskin. But anyway.
They won't stop at the Nipper River either.
Well, Marguson with $10. Thank you very much. Life of Brian. Have you covered the Franklin scandal?
Which Franklin? Benjamin Franklin?
I'm not sure.
Or the President Franklin? I mean, I forgot which one he's talking about here.
Yeah, I don't know.
We did cover. I don't know. We covered, but we did mention John Cleese. Did we mention that? Been asked to take out the
Life of Brian. He said, "Screw
Life of Brian," the Loretta sketch, which is supposedly was supposed to be in the Broadway play version of Life of Brian, and he refuses to take it out. And it's
Good.
Eric Idle in drag as Loretta demanding that she could give babies. I mean, the thing is from the 1970s. How prophetic that segment is brilliant. If you could find that Loretta sketch where they're sitting on these steps talking about men can get pregnant. Wow.
Yeah, I know everybody's crediting South Park.
No,
They were ahead of their time, but Monty Python was doing this
in the 70s, 72, 73. Wow. Wow.
So let me see. Livia, great story. $10. Thank you.
That's her name. Great story.
I guess Bobby Bronco. How about an episode on Eric Weiss, aka
we are going to
Houdini's coming up.
We are going to do Houdini.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you. We are going to do Houdini.
David Clore. How about the Bush and Obama connection?
Between the two of them?
I guess.
What about it?
I don't know. There's a new one, but
right.
Do you know why LBJ lived in Gillespie County and voted in Johnson City?
I don't know, but Johnson City was not named after his family, despite urban myth. It was, or no, I'm serious. It was.
No, I know. We
okay,
talked about on the show.
We didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Let me see. Where does Curtis Lowe stack up on your blues list? Some say he was the greatest picker to ever play the blues.
I don't know Curtis Lowe, so I can't really say. I don't know who he was.
All right.
Yeah.
Rocket 25 with a super sticker. Antonio, any chance for a Bruce Lee untold story? I think it's done, but I would love to hear if Mark has any insider stories about the world's most overrated martial artist. Okay.
Again, this sounds like an Asian thing, martial arts, as opposed to an American untold story, although he did appear in movies. I consider him to be a foreigner in that regard. Somebody mentioned John Lennon. I gave the same response, that he was British. He had an American citizenship at the end. I think Bruce Lee might have had that too, but I generally regard them as foreigners, and we're trying to focus on straight up American untold stories 100%, as opposed to that Bruce Lee kind of thing.
Yeah. And we can't, there's so many stories.
Right. There's only so many stories. Yeah.
Just pick and choose. And
yeah. And there have been movies made and documentaries done on Bruce Lee and his son and his family. And my favorite one is when he's fighting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's one of my favorite videos, if you can find that.
It's an Enter the Dragon.
Yeah. Enter the Dragon. I mean,
great movie with John Saxon, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Wild movie.
Yeah.
I love some of the 70s stuff.
Yeah.
And Locals, Pasha sent a painting of him as Mothman. So it's interesting in the chat.
Interesting.
Yeah, you get a whole different chat on Locals.
Yeah, what's going on over there on Locals, folks? What is the deal? Anything on Rumble? Or we got anything?
We did get one rant, I think.
Okay.
No, two. Holy cow.
Okay.
Alex Davy Duke with $100.
What?
Yeah. Hi, Mark and Eric. Great news about Armenians versus Antifa in LA.
Okay.
Do you know about Jennifer Black, who followed the money of the trans movement at her blog, The 11th Hour? Starts in the 90s by Martine Rothblatt.
I do not, but I do follow Andy No, who has followed the trail of Antifa.
Oh, yeah.
From Germany to the Midwest in the 80s. Skinheads and Antifa coming over here from Germany to teach them how to become Antifa America. Andy No documents it in his book, which I highly recommend.
And folks, here we go. Slowpoke 159. Interview Leonard French about copyrights and ownership of AI output and why using them to write scripts probably isn't a good idea. Watch his YouTube video first. Yeah, that's an interesting scenario because AI can't be copyrighted. So,
well, keep in mind, you can use AI to write the script. Again, you may have 5 writers on a script anyway. The AI is not going to be the final draft, but if I was a producer, I would try to get a draft out of AI and then hire other writers to punch it up. You get a free draft, bro.
Yeah, well, the interesting intellectual argument, like especially art and different things, like let's say we get AI to draw us a T-shirt design.
Right.
Anybody can steal our design because you can't copyright the AI work.
Right. But I'm
Which
saying
I'm fine with
in
them.
Hollywood, I'm sure they're already or going to at least get a first draft, which is what producers want.
Oh, I'm sure.
On any film, they want a first draft because then they can punch it up and they can build on it or chop it up or do what they want to do. I would use AI to get a first draft. If I would just say, give me a draft about a president who's indicted on federal level, has to go to trial during his campaign. Okay.
Yeah, give me with 5 characters, has a husband, a wife, and
right, whatever, right.
Yeah.
And then whatever comes out, I'm sure there's going to be some choppy, weird crap in there. Big deal. Now you bring in a kid to punch it up. Now you got a second draft, and the third writer, the fourth writer, whatever you usually do. But yeah, they're probably doing it now because the writers are on strike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know it's not going to come out a perfect script, but no script comes out a perfect script. What?
I bet some of the writers are doing it themselves and bringing it in.
Well, you really can't.
Would be surprised.
It's not so easy to do that because of other reasons I can't get into. But the producers have no legal reason not to do it. The producers have no legal reason to honor the strike or do anything. They just can't use writers who are guild members. You could hire a guy who's not a guild member, but if your company as a producer is a signatory, you can't use it. But AI is kind of what they want to resolve as part of the strike, Eric.
Well, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, AI, period. I think we're going to have to look at AI as well as part of Section 230.
Yeah, I was thinking. Yep.
Well, because there's a lawsuit now against OpenAI, OpenAI or whatever, the company who does. It is OpenAI. Sorry, ChatGPT ran a report on a guy that completely smeared him.
Wow.
And now you have defamation by AI. Who's going to pay? So we're getting to some really interesting corners of the internet and law. More tips in here. Drearier Spider. Did you see the video of Jack Sobiek posted of a migrant stabber in France? Nut job is stabbing children in strollers while moms watch and men run away like cowards.
Syrian immigrant. Yeah, I
have lovely.
Seen yeah.
Don't sue me. Mark, do you know James Woods?
Yes, I do.
Wow. There's a guy for Freeform Friday that would be fire.
James Woods, yes.
Let me see. Where'd it go? Even back when you would tear liberals apart on Twitter, he's always very generous with his comments about fellow actors.
He is, yeah. He's a true believer in the craft. Let me put it that way. And he was tolerated. What's that?
He's also a genius, like a mega genius.
Well, anyway, I'm just saying he was tolerated by the community until he embraced their TDS source.
Right.
And that was the end. Yeah.
No, I mean, he has like an IQ of like 170 or some crazy. Don't sue me. I read that it keeps going away. Over the last couple of years, the smell of burning cannabis was overwhelming in New York City. Now it's the smell of burning Canada.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is.
That's funny.
Magical. Isn't it fun being a right-wing conspiracy theorist, white supremacist like the rest of us, Mark?
I don't know about that. I'm more of a populist, and I don't know about the white conspiracy stuff. But
Brown Derby. Tusco is dead. Long live Tusco.
It's funny. Nobody mourns Tusco anymore. Tusco is dead. He died somehow.
Harambe has taken up the banner.
Well, he either died choking on his own vomit or a heart attack. Tusco, from what I've understood.
Rogue Thunder. Mark, this just came to mind. How about a deep dive into Owley and his little bag of acid, Stanley? Anything interesting there? Owsley, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. I mean, we've covered it a little bit with the Grateful Dead segment. If you want to look at the Owsley part of the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, he mentioned it in the second half of the comment.
Yeah.
Ken McElroy got FAFO'd in Skidmore, Missouri.
FAFO'd?
Fuck around and find out.
About what?
That he was the guy who was the town bully I was talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I get it. Right, thanks. Right. Pigeon be gone. Do you have any of Curtis LeMay's children's books? Tokyo Fire Bombings, Series 1 and 2, Napalm on Trees?
What?
I don't know about that, but I have a bunch of Curtis LeMay books, and I'm trying to get more so we can do the episode. Most of them coming from money from the book fund from our followers, so that's much obliged.
Yeah, it is. Otto.
There's a bunch of books I need to get on LeMay.
Otto says, "Life of Brian is nothing without the Loretta sketch."
Right, he's absolutely right. Thank you. That's absolutely prophetic and smart. The sketch, which I had forgotten until I saw the clip when John Cleese was making some noise about it, is just sheer brilliance. I mean, it really is Monty Python at their best.
Definitely. Huron Trader, Curtis Lowe is the subject of Leonard Skinner's song, and the lyrics state he was the greatest picker to ever play the blues. The poster who mentioned him may have been using sarcasm, in my opinion.
I don't know who he is. I've never heard of him. Might be a fictional character.
Well, hey, Georgina's back. Georgina uses headphones most always and subtitles whenever it's an action movie to hear dialogue. And yes, commercials actually come in louder. We're hearing aids, so just watching with them, well, it's horrible.
Right. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I suggest turning down the volume when there's a commercial.
But then they come in. I mean, they sneak up on you. It's like, it's just jarring.
Mm-hmm. I've been watching a lot of Peacock lately. I'm watching. I had to, by force, but now I'm into it. Of the Vanderpump Rules. So I TiVo a lot of stuff, and I skip through commercials, but I can't with this Peacock thing. No. And it's the same freaking commercials. It's all for pharmaceutical stuff, and I'm just cracking up at these diseases that people have, and the pharmaceutical treatments, and it's just mind blowing. The entire series is filled with pharmaceutical ads.
Yeah, and that show, by the way, we tried one. We just can't. We can't hang with it. Too.
I'm sorry, Hunley. I'm really sorry.
I'm sorry. It's like the most shallow, obnoxious people.
Greatest reality show ever made. Greatest
oh my God!
And I've got some reality shows I'm trying to get made. So I started out looking at it, but then my significant friend has told me that I must watch these, so I'm watching them. It's going to take me a number of years because the show ran for 10. Well, it's still
running.
Still running. It's 10th, 11th year. There's a reason why it's been around that long. Not a big fan of reality shows, but this is the best of that genre.
Well, it's a spinoff of Real Housewives, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who there's like 5 of those. So
right. There's a reason these shows are extremely popular.
I don't know. Subtitles only if watching Amitabh Bachchan movie. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. I'm not sure what that is.
Ian Mack. I heard that World War I gas mask is why Adolf had to go for the crazy mustache.
I don't know, but there's an explanation as to why he didn't go for chemical warfare at the end of World War II when his fate was written. And the rumor was that he had been a victim of chemical warfare and was
mustard gas
victim and was thoroughly against it. Even though the generals kept urging him to use their stockpiles.
Well, he probably had the sense to know that it'll blow back on them.
Right. Which happened to him. I mean, that's how he was injured by mustard gas.
Oh, Pasha ran across a Loretta sketch on YouTube a day ago. Hey, post it on Locals if you would, Pasha.
Put it up there. People, I think I put it on Twitter, but I don't think I put it on Locals.
RFK Jr. $151, and no comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a big statement with very few words.
Yeah.
Livia, or live a great story again. Live a great story, silly. Okay, sorry.
Live a great
story. I because it was one word, so I said Livia, great story.
Oh,
but it's live a great. All right.
All right, I got
it. Kiki Ray. Have you guys done anything in PA? I went to high school with kids whose parents were busted in the Philadelphia connection.
What did we do in PA? Maybe a story about the state of Pennsylvania, or
Smedley Butler is from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I was going to say Butler. Yeah, I was going to say Smedley Butler touches on Pennsylvania.
But I think that's it.
Yeah.
No, we can't do that. That's Canada. We're not doing Justin Trudeau. That's Canada. Watch American. Viva Fry. It's a continuous expose every day with Viva Fry
on Canadian Untold Stories.
But they're told.
Canadian Untold Stories called Cuss.
Yeah. John Comos, thanks for clearing up the Roscoe White BS story. I saw a documentary that his son claims he was a badge man.
It's a bullshit story. His son's trying to make a living off his dad. That's all. There's a bunch of these things that float around. You just got to dig down a little bit. And, people keep saying, what about Roscoe White? He was in charge of, I think Roscoe White was in charge of making the phony Oswald rifle photos for Dallas police.
I don't know. Doug Archibald, please do Joe Kennedy Sr.
You need Kennedy trading cards. What is this one?
What do you think of the Men Who Killed Kennedy series? It's a decent series, but
right.
there's problems with it.
I tweeted the other day. It's about 70% accurate. But it's still good. It's just stuff that's like a hodgepodge of things.
Last episode's good.
Right. And the one that's banned in the United States is good 9. The Corsican thing, again, I've never bought into the Corsican thing. Just some exotic thing. All of these things are designed to deter you from looking at the CIA or the intelligence agencies' involvement. The mafia, the Corsicans, the Mexicans, the Nazis, all of that stuff is to deter you from looking as to where it really is. If you take that bait, that's what they want.
Use Occam's razor.
Yeah, you look at the most obvious, look at the documents.
Norwich 44, $2. Thank you. Mark's hot. Also correct about so much. That is all.
What? What's it? Enchiladas unbreaded?
Yeah.
Some of these names are so funny.
Unbreaded goes, I don't know if it's, I tie it to Nick Rekieta.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this nut job professor who wrote like an 800-page manifesto that was just like racist, whatever, is a black professor, what have you. And there's a video of him online, and he's going like this. He's like kind of leaning his hands. Touchdown.
What?
Unbreaded. And so that's like Nick was for reading like one page of a show. And so the unbreaded thing is if you're unbreaded, you're cool, you're hip, you're whatever.
Okay. All right.
Let me see. I had Resident Alien on my DVR, and it had commercials, and I was just about to be driven crazy with the same 4 and the BS it was shooting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird, man. If you're stuck watching those, it's painful.
Yeah, you're trapped. Mark, how do you maintain all the information you read? Do you use paper notebooks or digital notebooks, OneNote, Obsidian, etc.?
I use Post-its, and I take notes as I go of things like one-line things or stats or dates on little Post-its as I read. So it takes me a long time to get through a book because I'll pull out just little factoids that are important to me for storytelling purposes. So that's why I need the hardcover copy of the book. You can't really highlight the book, so I'll just do little things on Post-its, which are all over the freaking house.
Michael Hebner, $1.99. Thank you.
No relation to Richie Hebner, the gravedigger.
Still not.
Baseman. There's no relation to Richie Hebner, as we learned last week, the grave-digging third baseman for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
All right. And another super sticker from Michael. Thank you. And last super chat to the real Terry. Just Dutch auctioned myself, guys.
What does that mean? Dutch auction.
Dutch auction is like a weird one where you have multiple products that you're selling at an auction. I don't quite, I don't remember how it breaks down.
We're becoming so international now. We're getting this phraseology from overseas and British takes on things, Australian takes on things. We have a lot of Dutch followers for some reason. And also the Scandinavian countries seem to like the show. Weird.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of Brits. We got a lot of Brits.
Yeah, we do. Well, it's a competition between England and Canada. For number 2.
But a lot of Australians. Eric.
Aussies too. Yeah,
a lot of Australians watch the show for some reason.
No, and we love hearing from them. We got pictures coming in of Oswald in Tasmania and the goofy Groubert.
Right. So, You're right.
It's great seeing that from everyone. So, what is coming up Tuesday?
Ooh, Tuesday is going to be interesting. The assassination of McKinley.
Ooh.
Yes, the assassination of McKinley, my friends.
All right.
And we're running out of dead presidents. We did Lincoln. We did JFK. now
We're doing JFK continuously.
right, and now McKinley's the fourth, right?
Yeah. I mean, McKinley, then JFK, then we'll cover Reagan probably and Ford.
Right, but he lived. I'm talking.
Yeah, I know. We'll get through the dead ones first.
Well, dead president's a phrase for money. Dead presidents is a monetarily phrase. So this is our dead president series.
Which is funny. It's a phrase for money, but then of course the $100 bill's not a president.
Right, but it's also a movie which I
Decent
like
movie.
a lot. Yeah, decent movie. But this is the end this week, folks.
Thank you very much. I hope you consider going to locals, structure.locals.com. I'll be doing a grill stream on that tomorrow, and I will try to make sure that Mark's radio appearance is up there.
Oh, yeah. Those are going. Yeah, we have to speak very quickly on those because we're limited by time. So it's kind of a nonstop machine gun rant through my Twitter account by Greg, which is pretty funny.
It definitely works. So everybody, we will see you on Tuesday to talk about the assassination of William McKinley.
5'6" tall, 5'6" wide.